Archaeologist Jeff Rose is trying to piece together the route taken by the first people out of Africa. He's looking for evidence where the journey began on the Arabian Peninsula.
Up until just a couple years ago, most archaeologists thought the great human expansion out of Africa occurred along this coastline.
Egypt, the setting for a unique and historic quest. The quest to find ancient scriptures in support of the largest religion in the world, Christianity. Ancient Nazareth is 4 miles away from Sepphoris, a wealthy city.
So it's spitting distance. You could probably commute that in 1.5 hours. Sepphoris is relevant because it's the major capital of Galilee. It's a Roman city right next door to this tiny little Jewish village.
And in Jesus' time, it's undergoing a massive Roman-style renovation.
So Jesus is probably going there every day and working as a tectone, as a builder, to rebuild the city. Disenchanted by the perpetual gloom of England, Curzon wrote, "The solitariness of my existence is unendurable. It's like living in a madhouse." So he packed his bags and set off for an exotic land to resurrect his broken spirit.
In 1833, Curzon went for a grand tour that took him through Europe, then across the Mediterranean all the way to Egypt and the majestic pyramids.
You can't not be amazed standing in the presence of these giant stone monsters. But Curzon wanted to do more than just marvel at the wonders of ancient Egypt.
Curzon had a special interest in ancient biblical texts and believed that the best way to preserve them was to bring them home to England.
It's a little bit different than a normal day at the office, where normally I'd take my trowel, my GPS, get in the car and go. But here we've got a few extra bits of kit to work out.
My first dive will be exploring one of the anomalies about 20 kilometers offshore in a shallow bay between Qatar and Bahrain. Petrie's search eventually led to Amarna, the capital of Egypt in the 14th century BC. Amarna was ruled by the pharaoh Akhenaten and his queen, Nefertiti.
It's a lot more impressive up close than it is from down below. This is a boundary stela marking the edge of the city. On the left there is Nefertiti, and on the right is Akhenaten himself.
I'm making a quick stop for a meal inspired by the Bible.
Here outside the walls of the old city, they've got this biblical foods restaurant that specializes in foods of the Old Testament. So I'm gonna go check it out. I'm here on the shores of the beautiful Sea of Galilee to meet the Lufont brothers. They made a 1 in a million discovery while out fishing one day from the time of Jesus. We've got all kinds of new toys and gadgets in archaeology, and there's even people who can find sites from space using satellites. But ultimately, you're gonna have to move the dirt, and it comes down to shovels and buckets.
I'm told that this is the back dirt pile, the rubble that was left behind by Petrie's excavations in the 1890s. It covers a recently detected Greek building and has to be removed.
It's a pretty neat feeling to be digging through Petrie's old back dirt pile. For an archaeologist, it's pretty cool.
After the discoveries at Oxyrhynchus, the search for early Christian manuscripts continued with great fervor. Such was the demand that similar papyri were now sold on the open market by the dealers of Cairo's souks. But nothing is controversial, as the sayings of Jesus would emerge for almost 60 years.
2 world wars and a global depression put a significant dampener on the business of Bible hunting, until a spectacular discovery surfaced in 1946.
I think the inspiration for those older flood myths happened right here. At the end of the last ice age, about 14,000 years ago, sea levels were much lower than they are now. And this gulf didn't even exist.
The fascinating thing about Arabia is that nothing is as it seems. It amazes me to think that once upon a time, this entire gulf was a lush green valley.
Some of the qualities that we can see in these people, which we really haven't seen before in prehistory, is they're curious. There was no overpopulation, so they weren't forced out of Africa, but they would wake up every day on one side of the Red Sea and they'd look across, and at some point, somebody couldn't stand it anymore and had to go scratch that itch. I think it was this curiosity that was driving them, and I think that's what we are. That's the defining aspect of our species, is we want to know what's on the other side.